Instructions for accessing subtitles in a language other than English are included on our board meetings webpage as well as in the description below. Instrucciones para acceder a los subtítulos en un idioma que no sea el inglés se incluyen en nuestra página web de reuniones de la Junta, así como en la descripción a continuación.
Oop, turn my microphone on. Okay, it is 7 o'clock. And I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is Monday, October 3rd, the Ross Valley School District Board of Trustees. This is a special meeting. Welcome, everyone. We are, again, here in the Wade Thomas, Wade Thomas multipurpose room. And as such, we are gathered being in the Wade Thomas multipurpose room, I wanted to just acknowledge that here in this room, we're located on the unceded ancestral lands of the Coast Miwok people of present-day Marin and southern Sonoma counties. And we honor with gratitude the land itself and all of its ancestors, past, present, and emerging. As always, we're going to start with our procedural items, the first one being the Pledge of Allegiance. And just quickly, the very brief moment was sometimes when we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance, I tend to stop and reflect on the original oath of office that we all took when we first sat in these seats and that are taken actually by all public servants in our country. So wanting to just think about that original oath as we stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance, and welcome everyone who wants to say it with us to go ahead and stand up. Join us. Uncovering it? All right, thanks. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Our next procedural item is to adopt the agenda and the time allocations on the agenda. Is there any of the board members who have anything? It's a very short, this is a special meeting where we have just a limited number of items on our agenda. Any questions? We can entertain a motion.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda and time allocation as stated.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second it.
And a second. All right, vote. Rachel? Oh, sorry, Rachel?
Aye.
Marie?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Shelley? Aye. Wesley? Aye. All right. So we have our agenda. And again, just to remind everybody that we've got a configuration here also to remind that we are here and that these board meetings are meetings of the board that we do conduct in public. And as such, they are, as I said, there are business meetings, and this is a special board meeting to conduct our business. They're different from community town halls, as that's a different kind of a meeting. So as our business meeting, we take recommendations from staff. We listen to the public for the agenda items that are on our agenda. And then we bring all of that together and bring it back and have board discussions and deliberations. And then we take action either by a formal vote or by recommending direction to the staff. So with that, we can go ahead and move forward with our board meeting business. The first one is communication to the board and correspondence with the board. Marcy, do you have any comments on that update?
No, we did have some that were posted for the reminder. We did have some that were posted when the agenda went live on Friday and have received none since.
All right. And then with that, we can move right into the presentation action items. We have 2 items on our agenda tonight. The first is a recommended adoption of a resolution to establish a facility advisories committee, and that's an action. And then we also have in that same agenda item providing staff direction for the management contract for the 7-Eleven committee. And since this is, it's a little bit different than what we may have been doing. We're not doing like a general update on the process or anything. It's a very specific item. And it's really an administrative and logistic step for us to keep the process moving forward. So we're not doing our general updates. We're just really focusing on this very specific item. We don't have our attorneys on the phone. They're listening in so that they can hear any conversation that we have, but we didn't feel like we have a need for that. All right. Marcy, do you want to give us a report on this?
All right. So just as kind of a refresh is that we have been meeting since May at our board meetings to engage in dialogue and to address safety and potential sale of the Deer Park property, the Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center. And we're utilizing under that process, or to do that process, is Education Code Section 17458. And as part of the process, the first step, and we've had a lot of background, a lot of information that's been provided to the board, but the next step in our pathway of being able to actually go forward with a direct sale to the Children's Centers to go through a facility or commence a facility advisory, or otherwise known as a 7-Eleven committee. And at our last board meeting on September 21st, we reviewed specifics related to the 7-Eleven committee, and Terry Tao, the district's attorney, went through the 7-Eleven checklist and through the process there. And at tonight's board meeting, we're asking the board to consider adoption of the resolution to begin the facilities advisory or 7-Eleven process. And this resolution has been prepared for consideration and adoption by the of the board. And then also as the second item is just an item related to direction, is so that we can come back at the October 12th board meeting, which is next Wednesday. As I mentioned also at the September 21st meeting, we've been able to secure a person who is interested in facilitating our process, and that is an attorney with the Atkinson, Andelson, Loya, Root, and Romo, AALRR law firm. And so at tonight's board meeting, staff is looking for direction to the board to bring a contract next week, not to exceed $44,000 for the consultant. We acknowledge that the estimated is a high end and not a not to exceed number. Our expectation is the process will be focused on the Deer Park site and will come in much under that potential of the high end allocation, but so that we have a smooth process and that we can get through the process, we figured that we would go with potentially the highest end in terms of what the contract could be, but we don't believe that we'll need to reach that high end. We believe that we'll be able to get through the process much more quickly so that we can move forward with the next steps in the process of the sale of the property to the Children's Center. And so wondering tonight if there might happen to be any either conceptual or general questions that the board might have related to our completing that contract to bring forward at the next meeting. So I think we'll do this in two parts. Let's first do the 7-Eleven related to that, and then later we can do the board direction, if there is any, related to the contract.
So are there any clarification questions on the two items or the two topics on this one item before going out for public comment in terms of clarification?
I wanted to know, this is a total amount. There's no time frame that we're listing on this, right? So there's not like a specific, like we're not going to do we have it done by December, or is it just like however long it takes to run out that money?
From what we have learned through the 7-Eleven process is that it's the committee itself that determines the number of meetings it needs to have and how quickly, based on the information that they feel that they need to review, that they would get from district staff. So we don't know how many meetings. It could be 3 once it's established. It may be a lot more. We're hoping that if the committee does indeed focus primarily on the Deer Park site, since that is the reason that we're entering into this process in the first place, is that it can be a much quicker process or consideration that they go through. But they do need to also bring recommendations to the board So for the board to consider a final report, if you will, from that. So we don't know for sure, but we anticipate, as we were thinking about it, that the meetings would maybe in and of themselves be no longer than 3 hours at a time. I'm not sure that, they could spend more time together, but they may very well. And so they might have a longer amounts of time, but fewer meetings, or depending on, the makeup of the committee, they'll have to decide as to that process.
And we'll probably bring back more specific about the committee at the next meeting. So this is really just to keep it going.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're not going to be saying a number and then coming back asking for more later.
That's the goal, is to not, because we want the process to not be interrupted. And so if they have to pause their meetings, as an example, while we come back to the board to get further direction and additional funding, then that was going to potentially delay their ability to work together. So we wanted to just make sure that it was a not to exceed amount, putting it on the high end of what we anticipate actually needing.
The community may have questions about how many people will actually be on the committee, whether it'll be 7, 9, or 11, and then the community is likely to have questions as to the process about the people who will be on the 7-11 committee. This is a subject matter that will be raised down the road, just so people are clear, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The discussion tonight isn't meant to get into those details. That'll come back. So, yeah.
People might be curious about that, so I just want to make sure that's out there.
Regarding to contract, to follow up on what Rachel was saying, who is responsible to pay? Is it the committee who is going to review the invoices, or is it still going to be owned by Chris to review how, you know what I'm saying, if we are spending too fast the money? Are you giving that contract and then the committee is going to manage the invoices, or is it going to be something that you keep?
The district would manage the invoices, not the committee itself.
Okay. Okay. Get it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about like giving the ownership of the process is with the committee, but the contract with that person is still something that we maintain. Okay. Mm-hmm. Clear. Yes. Thank you.
All right. We can go out for public comment on this
Questions,
item.
though, about the recommended adoption of the...
Were there any clarifications on the resolution itself? We'll bring it back for discussion afterwards, but no clarification questions. Okay. So not seeing any other clarification questions. We do have 2 public comments, Lisa Kanan and Peggy Dodge. Come on up with your 3 minutes.
I'm Lisa Kanan. I think you're having some trouble with community trust because what you seem to want the community to believe about your values doesn't align with what you're doing. Clients pick lawyers and keep lawyers who do what they want, but I'd suggest that the legacy of Dr. Bagley has you in a very small box of options. You surplus the Deer Park property when you justified investing $5.5 million for the new district office at Red Hill, relying on a 1985 7-11 committee to do so. But your attorneys, Tao, and not incidentally the firm that you're poised to hire for the 7-11 committee, got you what you wanted at Red Hill. And unless you make an alternative decision, apparently they're going to get whatever it is you want from Deer Park. After 14 closed sessions in a row from December 2020 to May 2022, the first public act out of all those closed sessions was when your attorney, Terry Tao, met with the center administrators, told them they were a liability, and he was recommending eviction in 30 to 60 days. Your processes, your lawyer, your closed session meetings, your values. And now, in direct opposition to what many other lawyers believe, what many other jurisdictions know, you're accepting and promulgating Tao's stance that this property cannot be transferred as truth with a capital T. What other jurisdictions, other perspectives have you solicited regarding the legalities of public transfer for public good? Now, unlike virtually every other district I've looked for, whose own staff run 7-Eleven committees using pretty boilerplate steps for the task of garnering public input in a relatively straightforward advisory process before a decision to surplus a property, a surplus decision which, by the way, you have already made, you are poised to throw a significant sum of money, which you will then herald about investing on behalf of the center with the same law firm Dr. Bagley hired to ensure that no district property would fall into the hands of the charter. This is not how you build community trust. Providing an eviction notice while expressing concern about reducing trauma to families is not how you build trust. Allowing inaccurate statements to sum up your position in the IJ about what you are allowed to do or not allowed to do is not how you build trust. Dr. Bagley ushered in a whole new era of hiring legal advocates who never advised stopping, throwing lots of good money after bad in pursuit of a battle. There are plenty of smart, retired administrators with whom you could have consulting contracts. You could start with fresh, competent representation with a lawyer or a facilitator who does not have problematic ties to the district to help counter constraints on your doing the right thing. Specifics with regard to the resolution tonight. Where is the possibility of a transfer? All the language is now about a sale. You're poised to approve an overblown contract for another unnecessary legal facilitation without seeing any scope of work defined. And you're poised to hire yet another one of Dr. Bagley's legal firms from the treasure trove of the losing charter war. If you stay in a reasonable ed code-based scope for the 7-Eleven committee, a district employee could manage it, and if not, a facilitator with basic community engagement skills.
Thank you.
But that's not what you're about to do. You're in a very small box, and all you need to do is step out of it.
Thank you.
I'm a little taller than she is. Thank you. Before I talk with my prepared remarks, there were some things that came up in your discussion that I hope you will amplify a little bit. Marcia, you kept saying, if this committee focuses on Deer Park, the resolution says that's the focus. So I don't understand why there's an if, you know. Then who will make the decision that Mr. Pratt talked about around the number of people on the committee? Is it 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11? And then also the point made about the ownership of the process is the committee. The contract for the facilitator is with the district. And how is that envisioned to work? So those were things that just came up that I'd like to hear, you know, more amplification of. And, you know, similar to Lisa, I continue to be upset about the disconnect between what the trustees say in meetings and the documents that get produced by your lawyer, Terry Tao. The resolution to secure the occupancy is a particularly egregious example. I wrote to you about that. When you requested the staff develop a timeline to ensure occupancy at that meeting, the board members present all spoke of their support of Deer Park, of Fairfax San Anselmo, and their commitment to the sale or transfer pathway. Then the 467-page resolution that you voted on at the next meeting ends with an eviction letter to Fairfax San Anselmo. Fairfax San Anselmo can now not apply for any monies for any renovations because there is a public letter of eviction sitting in the Ross Valley School District Board minutes. Terry Tao works for you. If you have an outcome you want, if you want this transfer or sale to go through, then that's what you tell your lawyer you want to have happen. It can happen legally, and lawyers work for you. So if that's what you want, then you need to be asking him to work in your at your request. The law firm you're supposed to hire now is a question as well. I mean, what other options have you considered for this process? Have you reached out to other districts who have convened 7-Eleven committees to find out, you know, recommendations for, you know, who has efficiently and successfully run a 7-Eleven committee for them? Have you talked to governing bodies like MCOE or the county or the county board of the county government or the county board of soups. You know, where else is the information coming from? Have other districts transferred property to nonprofits? I think there's a lot more that can be done without a $44,000 attorney's engagement.
Okay, so we'll bring this item back up to the board for board discussion and action. Wanting to see if there's any other board discussion with respect to this item. The only thing that I would note with respect, and you can chime in, is that it is a separate public body, so there is this relationship between the work of the board and a certain amount of autonomy that is afforded to the committee with public hearings that they're having. So we can provide them with our direction, our intention, and all of our documents, and then there's a certain amount of public autonomy or autonomy that they have in terms of their meeting schedules and their life schedules and how they want to accomplish it to achieve the recommendations that they make. So that's what the resolution is about, is giving them the direction that we give them and recognizing they have that. Any other questions with respect to that resolution? And as Wesley, I think as you said or mentioned, we'll be bringing back a lot more of the details of the committee itself.
No, just to say that it's been quite clear from the meetings that we have had that many members of the community very much want this process to be followed. It's not just this board. There are many people in the community who want this process followed, and that's what we're going to be doing because of the unique nature of the property and the unique nature of the situation, the fact that this is something that the community needs to weigh in on through this process. So it's very straightforward from my perspective, and that this is our pathway forward.
No question.
All right.
Good.
We do need to take action on it unless there's any other.
My water. I make a motion to adopt the resolution 06-2223 to establish a Facility Advisory 711 Committee pursuant the Education Code Section 17388. And that's the action. Exactly.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and we'll do a vote. Marie?
Aye.
Wesley?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
And Shelley, aye. All right, we have launched our 711 committee. And then, so then the second part of this item is if there's any additional direction that the board wants to provide to staff with respect to coming back at the next meeting with the contract information and some more information on that. And if there isn't any direction, then the staff can go ahead and just bring that back. But we definitely didn't want to just bring it all ready to go without giving you guys the opportunity in case there was.
I'm good.
Okay.
So, are we going to move forward tonight, or I don't know?
We're not taking an action tonight to approve that's what we're going to do next at the next board meeting, which isn't just a week, is to approve the not to exceed amount. Okay. Right.
Just wanted to have you all provide any direction, any questions you might have as we're working to develop the contract and finalize it. So make sure that we be considering anything that you all had.
Yeah, we just didn't want to have to delay in case something came up that next time. Okay. All right. So next time we'll take action on that. We'll bring that back. All right. Then we can move on to item number 2, which is the public hearing and recommended adoption of Resolution 05-22-23, which is the matter of sufficiency of instructional materials. This is a annual.
It is.
I'm going to turn it over to you.
Oh, sure, yeah. I'm here tonight for Julia Walcott, our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, as she was not able to make it. And so under Education Code, Section 60119, it requires the Board of Trustees of a school district to hold an annual public hearing to determine whether the district has sufficient standards-aligned texts and instructional materials. This annual public hearing must be held before the end of the 8th week of school, hence the reason for the special board meeting tonight. We could not wait until the October 12th board meeting. From the first day the pupils attend school for that year, and the board must adopt a resolution stating whether each pupil in the district has sufficient text and/or instructional materials. So what we always do annually is we connect with each of the site principals and have them review the inventory for each of the classrooms to ensure that there are sufficient materials in each of the grade levels and content areas. So that process has been completed. And so bringing back this evening, and then also, as you might remember, quarterly, there are Williams complaints that we may hear. We've never had a complaint regarding the sufficiency of materials, and that continues this evening related to the sufficiency of textbooks as well. So unless there are any questions, Shelley could open the public hearing.
Seeing no clarification questions, I will formally now call the public hearing open, and audience members are now welcome to comment on the sufficiency of instruction materials. If there's seeing no audience members who want to make a public comment on this item, I will call the public hearing closed. And formally ask, we do need to make an approval, an action decision on this resolution. To adopt the resolution.
I move that we adopt the resolution 05-22-23.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion for approval of resolution 05-22-23 and a second. We'll go ahead with a vote. Rachel?
Aye.
Wesley?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Marie?
Aye.
Shelley? Aye. All right, thank you for that approval within the timeline that was required of us. We now move on to consent actions. We have 2 consent actions? Yeah, yes. We've got two items on our consent agenda. Any questions or anything on those 2 items? Okay, we can move there.
If I can just say, we may very well have an applicant who is still a student at Sonoma State University. So if the person is hired as an intern, we may very well fill one of our vacant elementary PE positions. So that's why we have this on the agenda this evening.
Great.
So I make a motion to approve all the consent actions as stated.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Marie?
Aye.
Wesley? Rachel?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Shelley? Aye. So moved, consent. And on to board business. We have 3 board meeting minutes for August 23rd, September 13th, and September 21st, which we will do individually because I know we have different board members who are at different meetings. So let's start with the August 23rd. I'm going to have to go back and...
Ryan was not present at that one.
You were out on the 23rd. Yeah, right. Teresa, if you can, I remember looking at all. Okay. 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 Right. Okay.
So can I make a motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting of August 23?
I'll second.
All right. Motion and a second. Marie?
Aye.
Wesley?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Shelley? Aye. And Ryan, you abstain.
Abstain.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. Great. So that is an approval for the August 23rd. And now we have the September 13th.
I'll make a motion. Sorry.
All right, Rachel.
I move that we approve the September 13th minutes.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and second that for the September 13th. So Rachel?
Aye.
Shelley? Aye. Ryan?
Aye.
All right, we have 3 of those, and
I abstain.
Abstain.
so we have 2 abstentions. And on to the September 21st.
And I make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of September 21st.
I'll second that.
All right, motion and a second. Marie?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Shelley? Aye. And Ryan?
Aye. Pratt abstains.
And Wes abstains. All right. Well then, as we come to a close for our meeting review of future board topics and board direction and debrief. Anything,
A more general comment, I like the smaller table.
yeah,
I find that it reflects more the conversation that we need to have, and I can see each other in the eyes. I would like to have the table being more in the center, because on my end, it's really in my back. So I think that would be nice. In the past, it didn't matter that much because we're almost facing, but now that's becoming kind of a bit unfriendly. So if we could find a way to get it more centered, because there would be more, you know what I'm saying?
maybe either that or put it on the other side. I hear what you're saying. Maybe that or the other side of the
But
room.
the
I'll
other
have to think
side,
about
I'm
the
going to
cords.
watch Rachel's back. So, you know
Well,
what
if
I'm saying?
Rachel's maybe over here, well,
As long
you know
as
what
we
I'm-
have a long enough extension cord from the microphone to the system, absolutely we will do that.
but I agree with you. It's much.
brief, so
Yes,
it's
it is.
just, it is
Yep.
nicer this way.
It is.
The only thing is just this way, where it's just a little bit less
Yeah,
friendly.
absolutely understand. Yeah.
It is much nicer.
Yeah, I had a hard time seeing all of you, and it was
That's actually
Yeah.
changed, because I'm already always on the far end. I'm glad to be able to see you.
Anything else? All right, then I'm going to say it is 7:31, and I will adjourn our special meeting. Thank you all.